Okay, so it's the 1st of October 2020, and this morning, oops, there we go. So this morning I was chatting with Dan Bauer, and I proposed this idea to him, and he said, you know, I had the same idea. So we're going to try to vent the internal tank by just running a straight vent line to the top of the external tank. So I took the cap that had the 0.33 cracking pressure valve on it, and I removed that long nipple. I removed the short nipple from the valve and just screwed that into the cap with a little bit of Teflon tape, and I'm going to place that on top of the generator. The fuel in the generator is looks like it's right even with the red line in the filler neck. So I'm going to screw that on there and take it over to my normal test site and start her up and hook her up to the heater to provide a load, and we'll see how this works. Well, this is interesting because I hooked up this clear tubing to the nipple on the top of the vent, and as you can see, I put a little yellow clamp on it, and when I attached the fuel hose, the siphon action started, and the fuel filled up the internal tank and then came up here in the clear tank right to the level of the bottom of the tank, of the external fuel tank. The external fuel tank is about half full, so it came up to the level of the external tank. The end of this clear tubing is way up here, so well above the external tank. Okay, so it's the generator is running. I've got the load off of it right now just to make it quiet enough so that I can talk. But we got some air bubbles that came up. I was kind of surprised to see those. For a while, air bubbles trickled up in the clear vent tube, but now those have stopped. We just got some bubbles in the top of the tube. But I'm going to put the load on it and let it run and see where we go from there. It's about 10:30 on this is the 1st of October. Well, this is quite interesting. It's about 5 minutes after 11. I came back over to check on this, and the fuel has run out of the vent tube. So the generator is running at a pretty fast clip because it's got 1500 watts of heater for it to run against, but it seems to be venting right now. Okay, so it's 1 o'clock, and the generator is still going strong, and as you can see, we're kind of getting this bubbling action, which is telling me it's alternately or maybe simultaneously siphoning and venting. So but it's doing a good job of venting, and it's still running like crazy. And let's see how much gas is left in our tank here, in our external tank. Well, so it's down to about there. So so it is burning from the external tank, so it seems to be doing really well. We'll let it run for a while Aiden and I go fly, and then we'll come back to check on it. Okay, so it's about 6 o'clock now, but I think the generator quit running about 5 o'clock. It doesn't look like it burned hardly any of the external fuel. There is fuel in our vent line that I'm now kind of trying to pour back in, but it doesn't seem to want to go. So I'm going to take the cap off and see how much fuel is inside the generator. Okay, so it appears to have burned nearly all the gas out of the internal tank, and very little gas out of the external tank. So I'm not sure why that is. Excuse me. I think I'm going to try to put the lid back on the generator and pump the squeeze bulb to get a great siphon. Maybe I didn't have a good siphon going, but I sure thought I did. But I'll pump the squeeze bulb, make sure I've got a strong siphon going, and then crank it up and try it again. Well, interestingly enough, the generator won't start. I took the cap off, so it definitely doesn't have a vacuum. I put the cap back on and tried to start in the choke position, so without putting more fuel in the generator, it wouldn't start. So maybe something's wrong with the generator, or maybe it really did just burn down as much fuel as it can out of its internal tank.